Hmm. Welcoming everybody watching on Facebook. And we're just starting our group with some breath, some meditation, kind of drop in, and then it'll be connecting to beloved Omashar, who is going to do the music. But I'm going to continue with some meditation and just a drop in moment. So, inviting everybody to continue consciously breathing at a pace that's comfortable for you, but where you are aware of your breath. And unless you're operating a vehicle, to close your eyes, tune in. And I want to invite you as you breathe consciously to explore the universe of you. How well resourced are you this morning? In other words, did you sleep well? Have you had enough food this morning or enough water? How's your physical body? Are there any places in the body that as you slow down, you notice there might be some discomfort? Maybe parts of our body that are just needing a little more love, a little more awareness. And this inventory is for you. So really be honest with yourself and know that our body temple is such a beautiful, incredible thing. It's amazing for us to be in these bodies. And we want to honor our body in this moment to really see what's going on with us physically and what might be going on with us emotionally. What have your emotions been this morning? Has there been sadness, excitement, tiredness? All emotions are welcome here. There are no bad feelings. There's no negative emotions. There's just our human experience, which includes uncomfortable feelings throughout the day sometimes. And comfortable feelings are, of course, also welcome. We can have space for some of you that might be in excitement, some of you might be sad, some of you might be having some insecurity or anxiety, and others may be in joyfulness. And it's all welcome here in our relationship Sangha. What's most important is just to be honest with ourselves about what's going on. And know this is a safe space for us to share that. So continuing to look inside of ourselves, what brings us here today? What brings us to watching or being a part of this morning's Sangha? Sangha means community, usually spiritual community. We are a multi-dimensional spiritual community, honoring the many pathways. But most of all, we're here through the foundation of compassion and gratitude. Those are our kind of guiding principles. Compassion for ourselves, compassion for each other, gratitude for the blessings of our life. And then from that foundation, we work on the challenges. And today we're going to talk about very real challenges that some of us might be facing in this world, in this land of illusion. So what challenges are you facing in your life right now? What are the maybe relationships that are important to you that are struggling, or where they're not as harmonious as you would like? And if you're willing during the class, during the group, to share about your relationships that are important to you, that you want more support for or more harmony with, well, that's what we're going to work on today. So closing this meditation just by each one of us making our own personal commitment. How can I love myself more fully today? Perhaps it's sharing with the group something to work on and getting some tools to work on it. Or it might be another way that you may honor yourself, love yourself a little more fully. But please remember, when we honor ourselves fully, when we practice self-love, that is not selfish. We're filling ourselves back up so that we have more to give to each other. So with that, I invite us to gently open our eyes, and I'm going to go to gallery view for a moment, and we can see, Roger and Bonnie have joined us, and Nancy's here, and Lynn and Leaf have joined us. So it's wonderful to see friends from all over the world, Christina from Spain, and Omashar in Colorado, and people from all over. And it's always good to know where people are from. I think Connie Marlowe is still on the East Coast. So welcome, everybody. And again, for those watching on Facebook, my name is Scott Catamas. I'm also known as Love Coach Scott. And this is our brand new relationship satsang group. This is our second morning that we've done this, and we're going to be doing this every Saturday morning. This is the last Saturday that I will be streaming live on Facebook. After that, people need to register and come on into the Zoom room. And to register for information on that, you can go to my Facebook profile page. The link is there. Or you'll also see it behind me. Well, I'm too big. I'm in the way of it. I'll put it in my Facebook profile page. And of course, those who are in the room already have this Zoom room. I'm going to turn it over to beautiful, beloved brother Omashar to continue the experience of us dropping into our bodies, dropping into our hearts, as Omashar does so beautifully. Welcome, brother.
Namaste and aloha, everybody. Come back into your bodies, because this has a bit of rhythm to it. This song is a brand new song called Welcome Home, and you are the first people to ever hear it. This has all been, it got completed. I'll still work on it, but it got completed about 2 days ago, and I thought I'd just share it here, and you'll be the guineas. I don't want to call you pigs. The first people. Anyway, here we go. So you can dance to this one, maybe. Let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides. I'll lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies. Together we will rise again, and we'll make amends for what we've done. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So let me take your hands in mine. As I look at you, your spirit shines. You see, it's true that we are one, and we came out from the central sun. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. So when you take a different view and you dream awake, breathe out the new. The world will come alive again as we dance and sing and make new friends. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you home. Welcome you home.
It was awesome. I was opening up my windows. I love that song.
It's
And you know,
yeah, you're the very first. It may have some enhancements to it as I record it, but that's the unplugged live version, except for the drum track. So
a lot of the words too are what this class is all about holding each other, about, really bringing into, that beautiful space.
we're
And
lifting each other and being there for each other.
yeah,
Together, we will rise again.
yeah, absolutely. Let's all twinkle. Omashar, you ended it so abruptly. All of a sudden, I realized I had to open my windows because it's getting, and
You meant your computer
I was
window.
like, quick, so I came zapping back.
Thank you.
It was also fun. I can be honest with everybody. I just started the meditation, Omashar, when I realized, oh God, I forgot to start recording and I forgot to go live on Facebook. So that's why I had a heads up.
It was an interesting moment in the meditation, that's for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome everybody. And I would love for people to let me know, pop in the chat box, what are some of the things that you noticed during the meditation? I appreciated that Christina said she had a smiling liver. So that was good. But yeah, pop in the chat box. What did you notice? How's your body doing? How well resourced are you? And then certainly, what's alive for people today as it relates to life and relationships? Because that's what we're going to work on. And I'm curious, did anything come up for you that you'd like to share?
Not right now. I was last week. I was a bit spotlighted, but what came up? Well, I guess doing my best to walk conscious every day and watching how I lose my focus and my awareness. And then you're leading the day with starting the meditation and then coming back into third dimension, I call it, third dimension. And but do I go back into my mind, or can I stay in my heart and allow all this to happen? It was brilliant. It was a great practice, actually. And so that was what I got from the start of this satsang, is that, okay, we don't have to leave our center to deal with things in the world necessarily. And so I'll just leave with that. But yeah, something else might come up, but there we are.
Okay. And just I want to remind people that the whole idea about asking, and I start all my client sessions, by the way, with asking my clients, how well resourced are you? And it's a wonderful practice for us to ask each other. And I invite you to consider replacing, hi, how are you, with how well resourced are you? The problem is we've heard, hi, how are you, so many times. And what do we usually say? We usually say, fine. We say fine even if we're unhappy or happy, excited or sad. We just say fine. It's become like this almost patterned reaction. Whereas when asked, how well resourced are you? You got to stop and think about that one. It's like, wow. Some people even ask, what does it mean? I get that sometimes from people. And what it means is what I said in the meditation. How's my body? Have I had enough food? Have I had enough water? Did I get enough rest? Am I carrying any kind of a low-grade anxiety? Am I in stress? Or am I in joy? My mentor, my primary mentor was Marshall Rosenberg. He passed away about 6-7 years ago. And he was the founder of nonviolent communication, also preferably known as compassionate communication. And Marshall, one of the wonderful things I learned from him, he used to always say, there's 2 questions we should always be asking each other. What's most alive for you? And how can I make life more wonderful? I love those 2 questions. What's most alive for you? And how can I make life more wonderful? And let's talk about both of those for a moment. What's most alive is an invitation for us to really connect on a deeper level. It's way beyond, hi, how are you? Fine. What's most alive for you? I'm really worried. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent this month. I'm really excited. I just got a great new job. I'm feeling kind of tired. It's been a hard week. I'm really juiced up. I'm jazzed up. You see, notice that, like, that's what's alive, possibilities of what's alive for someone. So I'm going to ask everybody watching, what's most alive for you today, even in this moment? What's most alive? And I would love for, ideally, all of you to pop it in the chat box. And if anybody's willing to share it on camera, just go down to the little reactions and you can raise your hand, like I just did. See how I raised my hand? So if you raise your hand, then I'll know who to call on, and I'll put the camera on you, and you can share what's most alive for you today. And otherwise, I can read some of the comments that come into the chat box. And I'll model it. What's most alive for me? Well, certainly waking up this morning and knowing that I had both the class this morning and the Awakening World tonight. And I had kind of a moment where a couple of people still don't have the links. I saw right away there was a message saying that somebody hadn't received their links and didn't have it for last night. And so I had to go in and check and make sure that the links were being properly sent out. But then it triggered me. I thought, okay, I better make sure everybody has the links. So I sent an email out to everybody who's registered for Awakening World with the proper links. And it brought up some anxiety for me because I began to imagine people that have registered and they can't get the links and they're frustrated. So that brought up some anxiety, which I then tried to resolve through the solution of just emailing the links to everybody once again. So there was a little moment of anxiety, and that kind of threw me off. Another thing that's alive for me is I'm having a little challenge trying to decide which night to have Daniel Brinkley speak at our retreat in Sedona, because there's, turns out, other things happening both on Friday night and Saturday night that some of us may want to participate in, and certainly a lot of people in Sedona will be participating in. So I'm a little bit of a crossroads trying to figure that out. So that's part of what's challenging for me. Then I took my dog on a walk, made my morning smoothie. This is a Zoom. There we go. Let's see it. And this was alive for me. And then really wanted to drop in and be of service to all of you that are here, sharing some time. And I do have a lot on my plate. Yes, thank you, Atira. That's a comment that came in. So I really want to be of service to all of you. And last weekend, we worked a little bit with Omar Shar, who was very open and honest and vulnerable about what's going on. So I'd love to know what's alive. And please don't be shy. Put in the chat box or raise a hand and let me call on you, because I'd love to be of service to any of you. Now, I can pick things going on with my clients if nobody wants to offer anything, but I would especially love to support anyone in the chat box or anybody who's here in the Zoom room. Thank you. I'm just looking here in the chat box. And I'm going to take a quick look on what's happening on Facebook. Okay, great. Thank you. So Julie on Facebook.
I don't see an option to raise my hand
It should
while
be
speaking.
actions, but George, if you want to share, I'll put the spotlight on you. I recognize your voice. So
That's fine.
Is that true that other people don't have the reactions bar? Oh, okay, there's Nancy.
I expected to see a raised hand icon, but it's not there.
It's under reactions. Do you see reactions? Just so people know, do you see where it says reactions?
Reactions, yeah.
Right, so that's it. If you click reaction.
Oh, there, okay, there it is.
Well, now you know, George. But I'm glad you're there. And then I also see Atira and Nancy raise their hands. So we'll go to George, then to Atira, then Nancy. George, what's alive for you?
I'm still feeling wonderful after an incredible day yesterday. I spent a good part of the day helping a longtime friend who's a partner of a man I've been pals with in a men's group who's quite ill. I think he's gotten attacked because he's in the hospital right now. He's gotten attacked because he's spoken out against the shots and the mandates and the masking. And I've been attacked for that as well, but I was able to have my white magician friends interfere and protect me. And he can't afford that. He doesn't know about that option. But I came home and I helped her do simple things, just like doing laundry, which seemed inane, and but I'm good at it. She did it just really fast, you know. I was like another set of hands for her, and also provided support because I know Richard, her partner, so well. Just learned that he's a Pisces, and he's just really overwhelmed by his feelings, his emotional nature right now. He's trying to be like his brother, who's a famous person some of you know of, Harry Myers, who did the Rumi Caravan every year here in our area, Sebastopol, Sonoma County.
I was just in Sebastopol on Sunday night. I went to see a concert with my good friends Maria Stark and Ilenirio did a concert in Sebastopol, and they're both longtime friends and actually clients of mine. And so I went to the concert. It was beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
And you're now down in Tiburon, is that?
Back in Tiburon, that's right.
Tiburon, yeah, great, yeah.
George, is there any particular relationship issue that you'd like support with today?
I think just giving, knowing, trusting the process. I while I was doing my errands and visiting with this friend, I also stopped in on another woman friend who is a micro medium. For those of you, I'm a medium as well. I'm a medium for the Hathor. And us mediums spend a lot of time out of our bodies.
Yeah.
So it's a learning process to be in the body and to take care of the body better. And I haven't always done it so well. And so I stopped by the first time I had seen Terry Benning is her name. She does a lot of animal totem work. She can tell you what your shamanic power animals are. And everyone has more of them than they know. Even the shamans that I know learn from her. But she's eats a lot of sugar and just not in her body as much as she could be. And
Yeah.
so I got her to come out and talk to me on the porch and gave her a hug. And so I felt good about that risk. And I guess I just need encouragement to keep on keeping on, taking care of myself and others around me. I realized just how fortunate I am,
Mm,
I think, in this process
mm.
yesterday.
Beautiful. Well, thank you, George. Thank you for sharing with us. I appreciate it. And what George shared brought up a couple of things. First off, there's a wonderful book. And when George was talking about helping his friend with the laundry, I was reminded of this wonderful book by Jack Kornfield. After the ecstasy comes the laundry.
Yeah, literally yesterday.
Literally. And you know, it's a great point. It's like, even when we've had a big high, we still got to do the laundry, we still got to brush our teeth, we still got to take care of business, or even if we're in deep lows. And in this human experience, we're going to have highs, we're going to have lows, but we got to continue to do the laundry, and ideally to support each other. And I love what George shared. He supported his friend just by going over and helping with the laundry.
I had no idea how much help that would be until I left. We talked. I was there several hours, and she didn't want me to leave.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, well, thank you, George. Thank you. God bless. Let's all twinkle George for being the first person to come on, and also for helping his friend in such a beautiful way. I'm going to go to Atira in a moment. But before I do that, there's one other thing that George kind of just briefly mentioned that I want to touch on. And that was his friend who got attacked for a belief. Now, on our show, again, we are multidimensional. We are also multi-denominational. And we honor all beliefs as long as they're not hurting somebody and physically. And it's a difficult time because on our planet, there's like these social media wars going on. Republicans versus Democrats, pro-life versus pro-choice, mask versus no mask, vaccine versus no vaccine. And everybody has a lot of evidence to support their belief system. And sadly, human beings have been going to war forever over just different beliefs. And we got to stop that. We've got to stop it. And it's easy to look at the horror going on in Ukraine and the horror of what Putin has created. But we all have a little tiny Putin inside of us anytime we're making another person wrong because they have a different belief than ours. Anytime we're judging someone harshly, that's a little Putin inside of us attacking. As most of you know that are regulars, I really love the Twin Ray, and Sanandaji did a beautiful, beautiful program that I participated in yesterday. And he said, you know, the very first step of any genuine spiritual path, anything that's an authentic spiritual path, is working on releasing judgment. That's got to be the bottom line first step. And I loved hearing that because that's a big part of what I teach. And I'm still practicing. I still have judgmental thoughts, of course. And I still sometimes voice judgments in a way I just did about Buddha. So It's a human experience, but let's learn how to go from judgment to discernment. We all have the right to decide, I want to wear a mask. I don't want to wear a mask. I want to vote this way. I want to get vaccinated. I don't believe in vaccination. We all have the right to discern, but we can discern without judging. We don't have to make somebody wrong for having a different opinion or belief or strategy than ourselves. And that is just the first step towards truly creating peace in this world. I'm sure everybody watching wants peace in this world. We all want peace in Ukraine. We all want peace in our relationships. We have to start by eliminating, or at the best, reducing our judgmental thinking and any judgmental actions. And so when I heard George share that, I felt sadness for his friend who had been attacked, and realized I really wanted to bring this piece up. And so I just challenge all of us, notice, how many judgmental thoughts am I having today? And am I voicing any of those in a way that could be heard by another as criticism, blame, shame, judgment? I mentioned Marshall Rosenberg, and I want to share with you something vulnerably, and then I really will go to Atira and then Nancy. So I was hired in the year 2001 to travel with Marshall Rosenberg and do a series of videos about his work. And I met him a couple of times. I thought he was really cool, but it was just, honestly, it was a gig. And so I actually drove down to Corona Del Mar in Southern California, met up with Marshall, and he and I traveled over a 3-week period all the way up the West Coast with all these stops that his organizers had arranged. For 3 weeks, we traveled. We stayed in hotel rooms together. We ate meals together. I videoed him, recording him working with couples, working with huge classrooms of people, working with prison inmates, working in a wide variety of circumstances. It was amazing. And that's when I fell in love with the work of Marshall Rosenberg. And that led to me becoming a love coach. But the part of the story I want to share is, I don't know, about halfway through our adventure together. And I'm really wanting to make a big impression on Marshall because he's cool and we're traveling together. And he pointed out to me how judgmental a lot of my language was. I was a little surprised because I thought of myself as this really spiritual guy, which on some level I was, but point on my judgments. He says, it's got to challenge you. I want you to just pay attention today, just today, how many judgmental thoughts you have. Remember, that could be a compliment. It might be, wow, she's really good looking. It might be, wow, Marshall, you're really smart. Those are still judgments. How many judgmental thoughts? Just check it. So okay, I'll do that. Whoa. Well over 100. Well over 100 judgmental thoughts that day. And I was kind of, trying not to have judgmental thoughts, right? It was very humbling. And I invite all of us just to notice it. How many judgments do we make each day? And that's, each time we do that, we are creating a little bit more, at the very least, disharmony and polarization. Okay. And certainly, and this is what I encourage all of my couples, to not express those judgments to each other. Find another way to convey your discernment, your choice. Pivot out of you, blah, 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 into this is something I really long for. This is what I really want. This is something I'm needing. This is something that I like. Make it about what you want and like, not about what the other person's doing wrong. So there's our opening thought. And I appreciate, I see some of you are writing it down, so it makes me happy to see that. All right, Atira, I'm going to bring you on camera. And I'm curious. Oh, your camera just went off. I hope she didn't get shy. Atira?
Yep.
Okay,
Sure.
there you are.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you. What you just said feeds right into the issue that I was going to talk about a bit. What do I want and like, and judgment versus discernment without judging. I'm coming to the retreat, and so is my lover, Bill. And the first time I met you on Maui, Bill got really upset about my participation in our retreat and my interest in everybody else, and he felt totally left out. And we worked on it, and we had some real good working results way back when. Well, my issue is that he's coming to the retreat. His concern is he wants to spend some time with me. Yeah, he lives in San Jose, I live in Tucson. And so I said, we're going to have a wonderful time at the activities of this retreat. Now you can imagine how that landed. It landed with, am I ever going to see her? Is she ever going to pay attention to me? And when I initially wrote this in the chat, I said, I don't want to lose myself in being of service to Bill. And I remember at the last Satsang, we had this discussion about the drug issue, and I'm still holding on to that. So how not to fall into the judgment, oh, he's being needy. I can't handle this. Oh, he wants me here, he wants me there. I got an RV spot about 14 minutes away from the house, which is the best I could do. And so my fear, concern, anxiety is around, I don't want to fall into judgment with him. I want to totally enjoy my time with him. And I want to be able to say, no. I am very sure I'm going to say no to the stronger drug thing idea. So anyway,
beautiful.
And he wants to spend, well, he said, well, I'll stay an extra day or two. And I said, well, Scott's actually offering some extra things after the retreat. I might want to do those instead. So anyway, there's my presentation, and I'm like, thank you.
Thank you. And I'm only going to push back into the kind of the Zoom room so that I can address this. Because what you brought up is, I'm going to talk specifically about your situation, but I'm also going to expand it out for anybody,
yes.
right? Because it's a situation many of us fall into or have. Okay. So first off, when we perceive that somebody wants more from us than we want to give or we feel capable of giving, of course, you're needing to set a boundary. And so I want to encourage everybody how to make what I call a boundary sandwich. The boundary is in the middle, but there's going to be something on either side of it. On the first thing, whenever you're saying no, or whenever you're setting a boundary, always lead with authentic reassurance that you care. I'll say it again. Whenever you're setting a boundary or you're saying no, lead with authentic reassurance that you care about this person. This is really important because most of the time we might have trouble setting a boundary because we don't want to be seen as uncaring or unkind, or the other person may take it that way. You don't really love me. You don't really care about me. So you had it right off the pass. You say that first. So I'm going to use it here as example. Bill, I want you to know I'm really, now you got to make it authentic because it said authentic reassurance. So I'm going to pretend that I'm Atira and this may or may not be true for you, Atira, but if you lead with something along the lines of, Bill, I'm so grateful that you decided to come to the retreat. I care about you, I like you, and I do look forward to spending some time with you. And I'm imagining that you're wondering, how much time are we going to be just the two of us? And how much time is it going to be both of us? And you're really wanting some reassurance that I'm going to spend some focused alone time with you as well. Is that accurate, Bill? Yes, yes, definitely, because I'm sure that is. So authentic reassurance that you care, and you imagine the beauty of what that person wants. You acknowledge the beauty of their desire, the beauty of their longing. I'm going to use another example. Let's say somebody that you have a platonic friendship with, and they want to date you. They want to take you out on a date. Again, lead with authentic reassurance. I'm really enjoying our friendship. I'm really enjoying how it's developing. And I'm honored that you want to go on a date with me. That's really beautiful. It's a beautiful request, and maybe it took some courage to ask. So again, you acknowledge the beauty of what they want, the beauty of their longing. When somebody wants something, it's usually, there's a beautiful part to that. And then you set the boundary. So for Atira, it might be, for the organized events, I'm really going to want to go there. I'm going to want to see Daniel Brinkley speak. I'm going to want to attend Connie and Andrew's play shop. I'm going to want to go to the music festival. Now, you can come with me, but that's part of what's alive for you, whatever's real for you. And then let him know whatever is true for you about alone time. We can have a couple meals together. Yes, we can connect before or after the retreat. Whatever is true for you. You set the boundary and also recognize that what he's requesting is legit. Now, likewise, for someone where it's more of a no, using the dating example, where you're not, let's say you have another boyfriend, or you have another a wife or a husband, or you're just not interested. That's where you set the boundary. Thank you for inviting me out. That's really sweet. And I actually am in another relationship. I just don't talk about it. But and I'm monogamous. I'm not available. But I really appreciate the courage of your asking. So you set the boundary, and you do it with kindness. You do it with appreciation. You remind them maybe how courageous it was for them to ask. For Bill, how courageous it is for him to ask these questions. It's vulnerable for him. I remember I mentioned it's a sandwich, right? So after the boundary, what's on the other side of it? What's the other on the end? Create space to acknowledge their discomfort. Because you just said no. You just set a boundary. They're probably going to have some disappointment, some discomfort. They might even be angry, or they might be sad. And that's okay. And this is a big one. For us to be willing to stay present to another person's discomfort based on a choice we made. Make it safe. Hey, I want to know how you're feeling, and you can be honest with me. Yeah, I get it. You're really bummed out. You wanted to date me because I'm really hot. Or whatever it is, right? You wanted to spend time with me because you love me. I get it. And it's beautiful. And it's okay that you're disappointed. It's okay that you're sad. It's okay that you're angry or hurt. And I do care about you. And then again, reassurance. But be present. Give them the gift of listening to whatever's alive for them. So that's how we make a boundary sandwich. I'll quickly go to your tour, and then I see some wonderful things have come up in the chat box. And Nancy, I'll need for you to turn your camera on if you want me to, if you want to be on camera. Otherwise, yeah, okay, great. I see hands. Atira, I'm going to add you quickly. Any questions? How does that land for you? Is that helpful?
Very helpful. Thank you very, very much. And I took copious notes.
Great.
So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And this is being recorded, and I will send it out to all of our people that are registered.
Yeah, I'm thinking I want to listen to it one more time before next. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Great question, Atira. And I'm really appreciating that some of you have written quite a few things in the chat box. So after I talk to Nancy, I will get to what you put in the chat box. Thank you so much. All right, Nancy, please unmute. And what's alive for you?
Yes. Well, everything you've done has brought me more aliveness. Last night with Mantak Chia, who shared about the Tao philosophy and the earth, wind, air, fire, and how it relates to the organs and the liver and the kidneys. But he still used positive words and negative. So this morning I went to his website, and thank goodness I did, because I rethought the power of words. Because words can be used as weapons, so we eliminate war. And the simple thing that showed up by writing that comments to him from his perspective was, I put my hands on my heart. I'm really don't have the right clothes on, but okay.
Oh, okay. Well, I hadn't put you on camera because you weren't, but
Okay.
now you're on camera.
All we have to do is, instead of the dictionary having negative and positive words, we relabel them sweet words, positive, sour words, negative. This is like the Chinese philosophy. I don't believe I didn't think of this. So if we put our hands on our hearts and feel, okay, I am happy, and then open up the arms, I am more happy, much more happy. I am less happy, less happy, less happy. But if I say the words, I suffer, I'm angry, I hate more, I feel that. I hate less. Ugh, clunk, yuck. This is like when I love more, the rivers flow. The fire is the cooking fire. When I say I hate more, I get tsunamis, I get floods, I get forest fires, I get earthquakes. So the whole key is to put two pictures in our minds. As I speak, if I say, oh, I'm extremely calm, I'm not calm, that means I'm more calm, I'm less calm. I can choose to go to more calm, I choose to be less calm. If I say I'm angry, then I'm choosing I'm more angry. I can picture this instead. When I say I am kind, I am more calm, then I can picture rainbows and sunshines and sunsets and little babies and my favorite pets. When I say I am angry, I can picture tsunamis and earthquakes and Ira.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'm really hearing is just being conscious of what we say and how we expand it. Beautiful.
Please, Scott, one lesson I ask of you, please, and everybody, and myself, of course. I accept more, much more. I do not accept that pattern. I accept that pattern in that person. I accept the person. I don't accept the pattern. The pattern, the habits, the behavior, I want to accept them more in me. They're reflecting me back at me. I judge them more. I judge them less. Take the J word, please, out of your thoughts, speaking, feeling, then they disappear. I accept everything, all of you, and I do not accept the words that are used. They drive me el nutso.
Okay. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. I love everything. You know, it's the word, when we shift the words to be, you know, like they say, the right intention, the right words, the pure feelings, the pure thoughts, the pure actions, the pure words, they all have to mesh. And they
Beautiful. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you. And I know that words are especially important to you because you've been coming to our shows for a couple of years. And I know you talk a lot about that. And I just want to remind us all that we all have different definitions and interpretations. And I appreciate everything Nancy said, and that there's a lot of wisdom there. And sometimes some of us, certain words bring up love, bring up positive energy. And that same word may bring up negative energy for someone else or uncomfortable. So
Shift it to sweet and sour, though, rather than negative and positive. That's a judgment. If we think of them as sweet and sour, why would we want to send sour vibrations out to the universe and attract it back? Why do we want to say judgment, war, suffering, pain, anger? We can say, I am very not calm. I am so not calm. I do not love you at all. We forget about tone.
Okay.
We forget about tone.
Thank you, Nancy. And
okay. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And again, that works for Nancy. Sweet and sours that's a great alternative to positive and negative. And there's nothing wrong with using positive or negative to help us to describe our experience. One thing that I noticed, she talked about, and this came up with Mantak Chia yesterday, where he was really talking about being in the awareness of how we speak and how we express ourselves. And, he talked a lot, the theme for last night was compassionate love. And when Josie Ann asked him, how do you create more compassionate love in life? He, a few times said, be loving in our thoughts, be loving in our kindness, be loving in how we talk to each other. And my friend Nikita has a wonderful, wonderful program called I Am Mantra. And it's beautiful. It's easy to sign up for it. I think she has something like 250,000 subscribers. And she's actually in the Zoom room with us right now. And I thought of that when Nancy was speaking just now. And she provides daily mantras that are all in the awareness of I am. So if you want to get a daily mantra, just put in your name. I'll do it. I've signed up for this a few times, but put in your name and your email address. I am ready. And you're going to get an email. And she sends these beautiful, beautiful emails out. She's also a wonderful coach. Oh, there she is. She turned her camera on. And since we just talked about the power of words and the power of I am, Nikita, would you be willing to share a little bit about the power of I am? She's putting on her earphones.
I would love to. Can you hear me, Scott?
Perfectly.
Great. Firstly, blessed day. Aloha, everyone. And I just want to acknowledge that it is the full moon this weekend. And as we become aware of the power of our words, where our words are energy and our bodies are energy. And I find particularly it's helpful to become aware of just the full moon cycles, the moon and the new moon. Just notice how they influence our bodies. So I always like to presence where we are, because we are much more than these physical bodies. We are energetic beings, unlimited souls having a human experience. Scott, thank you for inviting me to share for a moment. The power of I am. I am is an English word that is connected to actually Sanskrit. And I am is the, if we think of the Om as like the original blueprint of sound, I think of I am as that sort of original blueprint of presence. It's I am. I am. Without judgment, without limitation, I am. I am is such an expansive word. It's a power word. Again, there's mantra in Sanskrit that use forms of I am, from hum sa and so hum. I am that I am. So I am is actually quite an ancient, powerful word that we can use to call on our creator self, our unlimited self, to create the life that we love. And that can look at as simple as, I am healthy, I am joyous, I am well, I am thriving, even just starting with I am peaceful. Our words, we are, as I said, we're energetic beings, and energy, universal energy is always flowing through us. So we get to decide how we direct that energy. Are we going to direct that into unconscious thoughts and words, or are we going to use our creative power to create a life that we love? And I am is a really simple way that we can harness the power of our energy, the power of our thoughts, and direct to what we want to create. Now, one quick thing to say about that, that doesn't mean we don't feel our feelings when they come up. That doesn't mean we're not authentic when we have emotions that become present, fear, judgment. To really step into our limited self, we have to, and become those whole, sovereign, vibrationally loved beings, we have to keep cleaning the channel that we are and acknowledge when those limitations come up and learn how to feel them, allow them, release them, and then refocus on that I am presence. I think that's, I could speak a lot more, but Scott, do you want to riff on that with me for a minute? Do you want to say anything about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, it's interesting because it's a lot of what you share is almost the exact words I've used, because I've been encouraging people to do I am affirmations for 20 years. And the one that I've given the most, which I use when I'm challenged, is I am love, I am loved.
Mm-hmm.
I am love, I am loved. And for me, what I like about that is I am love helps me to remember who I am at the highest level.
Mm.
And I am loved soothes the ego. And we're both. We are in these human animal bodies that need to feel loved. And we also are the bigger self, or we can access our bigger self. You can call it the higher self, you can call it God. We can access that in certain moments, and I am love helps me to access that. I am loved helps the little Scott to, feel loved. So that's a use of I am that I've been using for 25 years, and have probably given to at least 1,000 clients over the years. So when I met you and learned about I am mantra, I got really, really excited. It's like, wow, this woman's taken, something I believe in and made a whole beautiful experience out of it that has supported what you have 250,000 subscribers, I believe.
Yeah, it's just a sign, I believe, of the times that we're living in, that many of us are waking up now. And I think that's why it's important to have these types of gatherings where we can share wisdom and talk about areas that are working well, and also areas that we're challenging, like what Scott, you said about boundary setting. How enlightening to learn how to set boundaries in a compassionate, loving way for both parties. But one other thing about I am is just being aware of your body when you're either saying it in your, silently in your mind, or saying it out loud. I find repetition, like what Scott did, you said it a couple of times. It's like, think of it as a mantra. I am, we could think of it as an affirmation, but mantra is the concept of sacred sound, sacred vibration. I am, the word I am carries a sacred vibration. And so I find sometimes repeating it even 3 times. And before I start with my breath. A lot of times we go on this life and we're unconscious and we're busy. It's like, I find it helpful to pause, take a couple of conscious breaths, center in my body, and then feel that energy and repeat it from a more empowered place. I just really think the breath and mantra go really well together. And that's part of my training as well, conscious breath work, and then you repeat mantra. But that's a whole other discussion. Yeah, just being present when you take a minute when you're saying your intentional statements to feel your body, tune into your breath, and then imagine yourself creating your life with those words and with your energy.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And again, I'm going to go to your website. I just want to remind everybody that you can get much more Nikita, and she's awesome. She's also a great coach, by the way. So if you're looking for some good coaching, she does living wisdom coaching. And again, this is all at iammantra.com. iammantra.com. Get your daily mantra. What's today's mantra, Nikita?
Today's mantra is I respond to the world around me with peace and kindness. I am peaceful.
I am peaceful. I respond to the world
World
with grace and kindness.
with peace and kindness.
And kindness.
I am peaceful. And the reason why I did today is that today I'm highlighting my work that I did with Arun Gandhi, the grandson of Mahatma Gandhi. And he talked about passive violence, active and aggressive violence and passive violence, and that in our thoughts, we can either be peaceful or we can actually be violent. And Scott, you and I have talked about that, and that's another discussion, but the power of our peaceful presence, not only our actions, but our thoughts, I think is very powerful and needed right now.
Before you came into the Zoom room today, that's what we talked about. We had a whole conversation about really going on a judgment diet and noticing our judgments and noticing them, not making ourselves wrong, noticing them and not expressing them, but finding new ways of expressing. Underneath the judgment, there's usually discernment or a choice that we want to make, but we can do that without judging the other.
Are
Absolutely.
you willing to just not accept them, Scott? Just not accept them. Why judge them? Good, bad, right, wrong. Just not accept them. Keep it neutral.
Well, in some cases, I think that's accurate.
All cases, God is not a God of judgment. God's a God of
Nancy,
acceptance.
thank you.
But you're not willing to change, and you call yourself the awakening world. This is a time to awaken, sweetheart.
Thank you, Nancy. And I appreciate that. And I would like to ask that when people want to express themselves, to raise their hand and not just jump in, because that for me kind of shakes up my nervous system a little bit and doesn't meet my value for a certain level of gentleness. And so I really understand for Nancy, that's very strong opinion, and she has a right to that. And we all have different ways of seeing things. And here we're helping each other to see different ways without being too adamant.
Being uncomfortable is a sign of growth.
Yes, I agree. Being uncomfortable is a sign of growth. And
well,
I have muted you, Nancy, because I'm not feeling comfortable right now with the way you're jumping in. It's not meeting my value for, I'm not feeling safe, actually, to be very honest. So there's a question that came in from George for you, Nikita, while you're here. And that is how we do our affirmations is important. And it's all sacred now, including us. And so he's asking about the attitude of reverence. And do you think that that's required? Is it required for us to be reverent as we're doing our affirmations?
I think that's a great question. And maybe George can talk a little bit about what reverence means to you, because I think that would be an interesting discussion to see, what does reverence mean to you? I think I'd love to hear George from you. Scott, if you're open to George sharing.
Yeah, I just brought George onto the, George, you just need to mute. You need to unmute, George.
Hi, George.
George, you need to unmute. George, you need to unmute. Unmute. George, by the way, is partially deaf, so he reads lips.
Yeah, I'm reading your lips a lot, and sometimes I need to close captioning. And because of that, I'm in a more cerebral space, different part of my brain than those with normal hearing. And so I got judged as being a cerebral, in my head kind of guy, which is pretty funny to me. So the more of yourself, your body, you can sound, the more reverent you are, any of us. That's what I experience for myself. When I'm thundering and booming my full power, every cell of my body is in what I'm vibrating, what I'm saying. And there's nobody going to tell me that that's not reverence. It's complete self-acceptance. It's complete honoring of myself or whoever the embodied speaker, hopefully embodied, is. But sometimes it's just not appropriate. We can't always command oneness in a discussion. So we split off and speak somewhat in between, somewhat separate, somewhat pointing to the place of our at one-ment, knowing that is the truth. So we have to do both, and that's the dance I'm learning to do.
Thank you, George. And I want to acknowledge something that I heard from Eckhart Tolle about some of us take different journeys to assist our soul's greater growth. And I want to acknowledge your courage to take the journey that you've taken with your hearing and how it gives you access to different parts of yourself that perhaps some of us don't have access to because you have had to rely on different things to navigate the world. So firstly, I just want to acknowledge your courage for speaking and sharing and showing up. And I feel like you spoke something that's very relevant to me. Sometimes I'm in my clear power presence, and sometimes I'm not. And that doesn't mean I can't use mantra or affirmation to help me realign. Like when I'm not in perhaps I'm tired, perhaps I'm fearful, perhaps I'm judging myself or whatever's going on, or I'm feeling time pressured. There's always a moment to use mantra to help us recenter. And I don't think we have to be perfect. And as you said, George, there are moments when we are in our full power. We feel it in every cell. And then there are moments where it's as if we have to practice getting into that space. And I sometimes use dance. I use going out and standing on the ground and taking some breaths to help me realign, to feel that power place in every cell. And sometimes I just imagine happy, smiling faces in every cell. That actually helps me kind of get back into the love vibrational space. Scott, do you have thoughts on that?
Well, I do it in the circle singing that I go to, the Sufi singing and all
Yes.
the kirtans. And of course, I've been severely curtailed in the last several years from doing those. But that's my life. That's what I do. And
singing's the voice. I mean, singing is, and when you sing mantra, a practice that I do now is if I'm working through something, I will go for a walk and I'll start singing just different things. And then I start focusing on singing. I'm grateful, I'm love, every cell is full of joy, I'm finding solutions. It's quite amazing. And I thought I wasn't a good singer, but I love to sing. So George, I love that and it doesn't matter what we sound like if it brings us joy. Singing and dancing is what cultivates joy, I've learned. And drumming, I like to drum in the circle. I get in a sense of the one-man that way. And I switch, I do different percussion instruments, and I use my voice. And that brings in some interesting aspects to the contributions that come from people. Mm. It's a healing medicine voice, I think. Yes.
Thank you so much, George. Thank you. I do want to get to Connie. Connie's had her hand up for a little bit. And Nikita, thank you for just sharing so much wisdom. And thank you for I Am Mantra. Thank you for your beautiful gifts to our world. I'm really glad you're with us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, Connie, you've had your hand up for a while, and I definitely want to hear whatever it is you want to share or ask, or what's alive for you.
Well, this has been really lovely, and you and Nikita really complement each other so beautifully with the I am and with the mantra. So thank you for that. And I just wanted to throw in, I spend a lot of time with Native American, visionary Native elders through my life, the past 30 years or so. And one grandmother said to me about judgment, she said, just say, not for me, not now.
That's beautiful. So simple. Not for me, not now.
So I just wanted to throw that into the
Yeah,
mix for people.
yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. And Connie, you're going to be with us tomorrow on our Sacred Sunday show. So while you're on camera, you want to give a little sneak peek of what you and Andrew might be talking about?
Well, we have a course called The Dance of Souls, the Relationship Revolution, with the R in parentheses. And it's applying our trust frequency principles on the conscious, loving, abundant nature of the universe to relationships with ourselves, with others, and with the universe. Because once we understand how loved we are by a conscious, loving universe, that takes us on our journey to wholeness that we agreed to come on when we incarnated in this life walk. We said to the loving universe, take me on a journey to self-love, self-acceptance, alignment with my divinity and my purpose. And I'm sorry. And so that's what we'll be bringing on tomorrow and to the retreat is a workshop, a play shop to go there, because it's very challenging to say, okay, I came for this. I chose it. I chose my parents. I chose the relationships. These relationships are coming to me as a mirror for me to see the parts of myself I don't love yet.
Mm.
So rather than saying it's about them, we go to it's about me. And what's underneath all the anger, all the projection, what's underneath all that to say, I don't love myself. I think I'm stupid. I'm not smart. I'm not pretty enough. I'm this, I'm that. So because the earth's moving into a higher frequency and we've got to do this work to get into the higher frequency with the earth. So we have personal work to do to go into this new future that the awakening world is calling us forth to.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. And again, tomorrow morning on my Sacred Sunday show, we're going to have Connie and her beloved Andrew joining us. And this wonderful woman, Wowza, who's in her mid 80s, and she looks like she's 20 years younger, and she's got really great energy. And Luana Joya is going to be with us. Krista, frequent co-host, is going to be with us. And Jerry Anderson, the wild monk, he's not on the poster, but Jerry Anderson, our wild abbot from the Mystic Monastery, will be with us tomorrow morning. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you very much, Connie. Great to have you with us, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. And thanks for being on our show today, on our satsang. A few people in the chat box have talked about how they're going through big transitions and the difficulty of transition, whether it's the ending of a job, the ending of a relationship, the ending of a marriage, the ending of a big chapter of life. And of course, all of us at this point, we know what it's like to go through a transition and to try and see it as a graduation. And so I want to speak to how to handle transitions. And that'll be kind of the last thing I think we'll talk about, unless something else comes up in the chat box or somebody else raises their hand. And of course, we always will close with music from Omushar. So I want to point to the word bittersweet. Nancy earlier talked about sweet and sour. I like that as well. When we're going through a change, when we're going through a transition, and it's hard, I really encourage us to find the balance of acknowledging our authentic discomfort, our sadness, maybe our shock. If it happens suddenly and in a way that we hadn't planned or agreed to, even the shock, and acknowledge the shock and how the shock has impacted our body, where it might live inside of our body. Acknowledge the anger or the hurt or any of the uncomfortable feelings, and acknowledge them and mourn and grieve. It's important to mourn. It's important to grieve. It's important to allow the tears or allow the emotions and to move them through our body. And that can be done, by the way, through dance. Or I do jumping jacks. If I really need to move energy, I do jumping jacks. And I'll, if I can, if I'm in a place where I can get away with it, I'll just let things come out of my mouth, whatever noise wants to come out of my mouth. Oh, I see Donna has her hand up. So after this, Donna will come to you. But at the same time, let's balance the grieving and the mourning and the acknowledgement of our discomfort with the word liberation. Because if a change has happened, even if we didn't plan it, let's not see it, let's not interpret it as a bad thing. Just as Connie talked about, life happens for us, not to us. Matt Kahn, one of our favorite presenters on the Awakening World and Global Peace Tribe, his whole books are all about everything that happens for us, not to us. Reverend Michael Beckwith just was on 2 weeks ago. Life happens for us, not to us. So even if it is the job ended or your partner left you, shocking, acknowledge the shock, grieve, but don't interpret it as there being anything wrong with you. Interpret it as a liberation for your next chapter. They didn't kick us out of 6th grade. We graduated to the 7th grade. They didn't kick us out of high school. We graduated to college. And the truth is, life, if we allow it, is an evolution of raising our consciousness. And I won't go into the whole story because many of you have heard it before, but as most of you know, my wife did pass away. And I was there, she was in my arms as it happened. And I experienced her liberation. I experienced how good it felt for her to leave the body. Now we hold death as this, oh God, death, it's so tragic. But I couldn't experience it as tragedy because I was so connected to her. I could feel how liberating it was, how good it felt for her to be out of the body and back into the oneness, back into the astral plane, back into where we go. And I've done so many near-death experience stories and books and interviewed almost all of the major people. And they all say the same thing, that it's a liberation. It's not a tragedy. It's hard for the people left behind, but for the people who leave their body, it's like, oh. So may we see these transitions in our life as liberations to our next step. Whatever our next relationship is meant to be, whatever our next job is meant to be, or it's time for us to go into rest, time for us to go into a reset period, whatever it is, let's not interpret it. The tricky thing is, do not interpret it as something wrong with me or even something wrong with the other person. But it's liberation into our next step, into our next chapter of life. I see Roger and Bonnie also have their hand up. So Donna, you had your hand up. If you still would like for me to bring you on camera and to speak, just give me a thumbs up. Would you still like that? Yes, okay. Hi, Donna. I just need you to unmute yourself. There you are. Hi.
Hi, Scott. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you for being here. I wasn't going to speak, but you brought up transitions, and I realized that maybe what I have to say could help others on some level. Throughout my life, the universe has had a wonderful way of tossing everything at me at once. So I can shatter and then rebuild. And it's kind of been an interesting pattern in my life that has happened quite a few times, to the point that now I look at it and I say, more grace is now coming into my life because all this has happened. So I was in a marriage, and very happy in the beginning, unbeknownst to me, because I had never had to deal with it in my life before. My husband had mental illness, and I wasn't aware of it. Things would happen, and the tables would get turned on me, and it was kind of what you were just talking about. Not to blame ourselves, but I didn't understand what was going on, so I felt like I was walking on eggshells with him for quite a while. It got so bad near the end that I actually had to separate myself from him, because he was bringing in energies that were just not good. And I knew it, and I knew I had to protect myself. And so I pulled back. About 6 months after I did that, well, I was also taking care of my mother at the time, who was quite elderly. And so I was taking care of her. And she had a little bit of dementia, which for 105 years old is allowed. Yeah, pretty amazing. So there were things that, she would say, and I would just answer and know that I was going to get the question back in about 20 minutes. So in December, my husband passed away. He had actually, his mental illness became to such a point that he really, I knew he wanted off the planet desperately. He had for many, many years. And so I believe he almost starved himself to a point that his heart finally gave out.
Wow.
So I understood it, and I knew that was his choice. And then I lost my job because it was the pandemic, and I had my own business, and I was teaching young children how to draw, and I wasn't allowed in school systems anymore. So my teachers couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere. So that business folded. And then about 9 months after that, my mother passed away.
Oh my.
And then my favorite cat passed away.
Oh.
I mean, it was just like, and I just kept telling myself, okay, this is grace. This is my time. And I finally did just stop everything. I was looking for another job. I was trying to, piece things together. And I finally just said, no, I'm not doing anything until I feel a call to do it. I need to stop. I need to grieve every single thing that has happened to me and just be accepting of all of it, and realize that, it's kind of what Nikita was saying about the I am, only I have a different take on that. To me, the I is this earth suit. The am is my higher self.
That's nice.
So anytime I do I am, it's bringing us together. And so I've been doing a lot. I've always done a lot of spiritual work. I've been doing a lot more in the past 6 months since everything has come together, and now looking to move to a new location, to find a place where I can start over in a brand new environment. And the place I'm looking at, I don't even know anybody there, and it's perfectly all right. It's like, if that's where I'm supposed to be, I know that's where I will end up. And if not, I'll end up somewhere else, and that's fine too. So
Donna, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm going to riff on a couple of things you said. And thank you so much. It's beautiful to meet you. And thank you for coming on and being with us today.
thank you, Scott.
Just want to emphasize what she talked about, how sometimes it's just time to let one thing go or a lot of things go and take care of ourselves, drop into ourselves. That's really beautiful that she learned that. And also interesting, that she's on a journey of looking for her next place to live, which actually is what the case for myself. I'm exploring, where do I want to live? I sold my home in May, and I'm like, Ashland, Oregon, Asheville, North Carolina, Maui. Marin County. These are all options. Sedona, I'll be spending a month in Sedona. And I noticed that many of us are looking for our next home, our next big physical community. And I think it's going to be important, especially with the challenges our planet is going through. I see Roger and Bonnie have their hands up. And so I'm going to bring you on camera. Hello, Roger. And I see Bonnie kind of popping in and out a little bit there.
Yeah, well,
It's the ghost of Bonnie, Roger and his Bonnie ghost.
I just want to clarify or expand on, have you expand on something you touched on earlier on judgment. I thought I heard you say, and I'll lower my hand, about a compliment can also be a judgment. I wanted you to clarify that or expand on that. And how can we look at that?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, Roger. And thank you. Good to see you, Bonnie. Thank you both. So something that Marshall Rosenberg pointed out, that even compliments have a judgmental nature to them. Especially like, let's say I'll use an example. Let's say I'm with a female friend of mine and I see another woman and say, wow, look at that girl, she's really hot. Now, in a sense, it's a compliment, but it has a judgmental nature that is hot or that is beautiful. It's categorizing it as beauty, which then can trigger a reaction of comparison or a reaction of, oh, well, am I beautiful? Or, it can trigger that. So it's not necessarily that it's bad or wrong, but something for us to be aware of. When are we overly categorizing? And to go a little deeper, and I'm glad you asked for that clarification, Roger. When we're first born, we're just open to everything. And life is a series of learning how to categorize, and that's how our brain works. Like right now, your eyes are taking in all sorts of things, like all the different things in your room are aware, but you might be primarily focused on me, but actually you're filtering all the other things that are in your eyesight to focus on Scott or to focus on Bonnie or Roger when they're talking or whomever. So we're in this constant state of categorization, and within that comes a lot of judgment, right? And that can include what starts as a compliment or a positive assessment still can have a judgmental nature to it, right? There are even some people, some teachers that don't believe in grades because grades are judgment. You got an A. Now, even if you get an A or a B, it still is a judgment. You're making a judgment of this person's intelligence is at a B level. This person's paper was at a C level or an A level. That's clearly judgmental. So there's a lot of practices in our culture that we just accept that have a judgmental nature. And at the very least, being aware of it, being aware of that. So is that helpful, Roger, for what you're asking?
Yes, very much so.
Great.
It's just practicing in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even if we are complimenting someone, sometimes a compliment doesn't come across as a compliment. And so it's just, there's all these refinements, all these incredible refinements. There's no good or bad or right or wrong way of doing it. But it's just refinements. Yeah, as Wanda pointed out, it's also the comparison that triggers doubt. What we allow in heart's mind is the spiritual growth and evolution. Discernment is critical. Thank you, Wanda. Absolutely. George writes, this illusion of separation getting reinforced by our language, our customs. And Donna writes, thank you everyone for your kindness. I'm excited to find my new home. Because Melinda wrote, that's how I ended up in the Yucatan, much loss. And then I found a calling that was strong enough to pull me here. Best decision. And I feel it, finally feel at home. So that's beautiful, beautiful. And thank you for the invitation to Tucson. All right, we're going to wrap up. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. I'm going to turn it over to beautiful, beloved Omashar to close this out with some music. And again, one more time, just a reminder that tonight we've got The Awakening World, and it's going to be really, really fun. We've got 5 different settings and intuitives who will be joining us. We'd have music with Omashar and Joanna Beekman and John Martin. John also has some amazing UFO footage to show, never seen before. So join us tonight, 6 o'clock Pacific time. And we love Omashar, and we started this with Omashar. Hey, bro.
We love everybody. There's just one of us here. I'm just this face. And I recognize that. And it's good that, is it really early, Nikita, in Australia?
No, she's not in Australia right now.
You're not?
I'm in Oregon, Southern Oregon.
Oh, I see, because it's about 5 in the morning over there. And all of the grades when I was at school, I got all these Fs. And for some reason, I just thought it was fantastic. They were just saying, you're fantastic. I'm like, yeah, I know. And so let's just have a little closing here. This is called the Garden of One, and it's the Divine Feminine talking to us through these words. And so we can just, close. Thank you, Scott, for bringing us together and for creating a safe environment that we can talk freely. And really freely. And as we get to know each other more, it's lovely to get to know everybody on this call. We can perhaps be even more free. And so here's the song, and it goes something like this.
With you here inside, don't worry, and I love you more than you could know. So come along now and lay your head on my heart, close your eyes, dear, and rest a while in me. Keep open your heart and let in the sun, and bathe yourself in the garden of one. Know you're at home and in my embrace. Here is maximum grace. It's for you, Scott. Now I ask you to take a step towards me. I can feel your longing to be home. So come along now and lay your head on my heart, and close your eyes, dear, and rest a while in me. Keep open your heart and let in the sun, and bathe yourself in the garden of one. Know you're at home and in my embrace. Here is empty space. Here is maximum grace.
Love that. You even got maximum grace in
I
there.
know I had to work out the progression as I was singing. The first one stumbled, the second one was better. Here is maximum grace.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And it is true. It's like we all need to just rest in that garden of one. And a reminder that we want to support Omashar by going to Bandcamp. Just go to omashar.bandcamp.com. That's where his albums live. And with all the new songs you're writing, I'm imagining there might be a new album or
There
two.
will be, and I'm going to. It's actually called Lightness of Being, the new album. It's been a while coming, but it foments itself. So
Fantastic. Look forward to that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I go to gallery view so we can see people one last time. Turn on your cameras, smile, look at all of our friends. Thank you for being with us. And I look forward to hopefully seeing many of you tonight. Take care, everybody. Have a beautiful afternoon. See you soon.